Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Should this be our audio cut of the day? Nothing is sunny. There's no joy. Nobody's going whoopee on The View. They're all angry and furious.
You know what's in the air, Whoopi?
What's
Trumpism. We lost the election. Wait a minute. We lost the election. We're miserable. Half of this country is miserable. And let's just tell the truth. We hate that he won. We hate it. And everybody's uptight and crazy right now.
Well, then I'm going.
Now, wait, hold it. Do you need to get, do they need to get a lawyer's note?
Yeah, a legal note. We need a legal note on that?
Yes.
She did say half, and we did not, as a news organization, poll half of America.
It's more 48%.
To be clear.
All right, we have so many audio cuts, and they're just so entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
This one actually is a parody, and it's because the story over the last couple of days is, Ramaswamy and Musk. One of the things we're going to talk about is the fact that, well, they're not going to talk about. They are talking about it is how much you can reduce the federal workforce just by having them come to work.
Yeah,
it's like all we have to do is tell them to come to work, and we'll lose 25% of the workforce.
Yeah, right.
Now, whether that's true or not, we shall see. But somebody did a parody of a federal worker. You ready?
All right.
Okay, this is a parody.
Okay.
It's a woman federal worker.
All right.
Here we go.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that they're gonna make us start coming to work, like going into work, like leaving home and going in. Like I'm gonna have to get dressed and drive there. I'm gonna have to deal with traffic. I mean, the stress that this is gonna cause me. I'm not going to be able to watch The View when it comes on. I'm going to have to wait till I get home after work and watch it. And lunch. Do I have to pack a lunch now? I mean, come on. I may just quit. I think that's going to be the only option is just to quit.
I love it. Oh, it's great.
From the conservative mama on X.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice. I love it.
And then the other one that was making the rounds yesterday was the TDS doctor coming in to see a patient. Doctor said, I'm a, doctor, whatever. Fascist! Of course, it's a guy with long blue hair.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my gosh.
I love it.
Oh, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's... Actually, it was a parody, the audio you just heard.
Yes.
But wasn't far off.
I know.
It had people, well, there's so much stress in having to go through. I think people truly believed, and maybe some still believed, that working from home is going to be a forever thing. Widespread forever thing. And at first, we didn't know. It was like, okay, how productive are we? Does it make sense to have all this real estate when we can actually have people working from home? Then all of a sudden, it came back and was like, oh, yeah, we need people in the office. It's much more productive when they're here. And so that was really the consensus to the biggest extent, to the largest extent. And people were freaking out. But think about that mindset. We had built, it was, this is kind of like it's the similar pattern of the pathology of dependency Daniel Patrick Moynihan talked about, a Democrat, many, many, many years ago. You know, when you start building out those government benefits, you can't really roll them back, you know, and when you give people stuff, they're always going to expect that that stuff is there. But then when you change something in such a huge monumental shift, like the whole work from home thing during COVID, then people just really started to treat it like a right. You know, well, I have a right to,
Yeah.
I feel safer here. I have a right to be able to do my job and feel safer and, you know, all these things. And look, the majority of people understand. You still had the holdouts. So the parody here, yeah, it's not the majority of people, but there are a number of people out there that dreaded going back to work, and some outright refused to go back to work.
And you and I went through it at the beginning of COVID, like so many people, where, you know, we were. It was funny because I woke up one day and I got all these emails from you. It's like, what are you talking about? He goes, they want us to do the show from home starting tonight, and we're like, well, we can't. It's not possible.
Right.
Well, we'll find a way to set it up. There is no way to set it up. And we came in, and then we made it clear that we would not do it from home.
Right.
We said we're just not going to do it because we thought the quality of the show would hurt. And now Eric, there's no big deal. He only drives a couple of miles. I have 27 miles. 27 miles.
I had 30 miles for 15 years back and forth. Yeah.
I know. We've talked about that, how you had the first half of the show. You had to drive the long way, and now I've got to do it. But I didn't even think about it. It was simply, what will the quality of the show be? And we looked at it at the beginning of COVID, you know, again, saying there has never been a story like this in our lives. We're going to do it in familiar surroundings, where we're in the studio together, where the sound quality is going to be there, where the back and forth, because we can read each other's body language. You sort of know when I'm going to stop talking. I know when you're done, and we interject. It's just a much, we believe, tighter show, and we said no, and they agreed to it.
Right. Yeah.
And we said, don't worry, we'll be proactive. We'll make sure everything is run right and everything else. And, you know, the fools trust us, so
zero concern for our safety. So it was fine.
No, they did. That's why they want everybody to, you know, to work.
Well,
at
we
home,
had to
but
go through the steps of justifying it.
Yes.
Our production crew is in a totally different room, based on their insistence, and also because just the way it's set up. And you know, but also we're not in a building filled with people.
Yeah.
At the time, you know, at the time of day, you know, there's only basically the 3 or 4 of us here in this building. And so that made it, you know, the whole social distancing thing, and, you know, the policies that all companies had. And it's like, okay, we can still abide by the policy. And I don't know how many of those disinfecting wipes we went through. I brought my own.
I remember.
Still have. I mean, man, it was everything, right?
In the beginning.
Well, and, you know, but it was everything for the show, which is our motto off the air, because it can't be diminished.
There's also the thing of repetition. I know this is what I was thinking, that there's a certain pattern that I have followed for decades doing this show. And I just said to myself, there's no way I can get out of bed and walk to my office, because we could have set it up. It would have been set up in a week, less than a week, and we could have done the show. I said, there's no way. It's not the same. I don't prepare. Driving, I've told you this before off the air. I don't know if I've said it on the air, but driving the 27 miles here, I, in my head, organize everywhere where I want to go on the show.
Yeah. Right.
It's just in my mind, Music can be on, doesn't matter. I don't even hear the music. Radio can be, I don't hear anything. It's just in my mind. Hey, I'm paying attention to my driving, and I've become so accustomed to it where I come in here and then what I do here, the pattern of what I have to do. And I think patterns, when you do this business,
Routine.
the routine, the preparation, sort of like if you're going to play a ball. I don't want to compare myself to an athlete, but in a way it is the same because you start at this particular time, you end at this particular time, and you've got to, perform. And it isn't something where I'm just reading. I'm not just reading. It's you've got to organize your thoughts. And the pattern of doing it, I'm so used to, I didn't want to take the chance of not having that pattern and having the quality of the show less.
Well, and the tone changes in a different setting. I mean, if I ever did something where I was, broadcasting from home, I'd have to set up an actual studio. It couldn't be like an office.
And it couldn't, it couldn't be like the closet because you did it for like 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks, was that 21 or 20? But two people in my
January of 21, February of 21.
No, it was November, December. I remember that because it was between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Oh, that's right, because it was the whole election thing at that point. Yeah, you're right.
And so,
I wasn't comfortable with that.
Well, it's not the same creative process, and it wouldn't matter. In order to recreate that, it would have to be a studio, that's similar to what we're in right now. That's part of for me, it's part of the creative process. Others can do, whatever from anywhere, but we're talking about, I can do, and I've done it. I've done podcasts from other places. I've done things in other settings, but we're talking about this work, my main work. And there's, I know a lot of people that work better when they're isolated at home in the job, in the tasks that they have to perform. It's still they're still required. The job requires them to still be in the office and do presentations and everything else, but they were able to actually perform, maybe sometimes perform a little better while working from home.
We're pretty self-aware and we know we have pretty good chemistry. I didn't want to chance that either.
Right. Well, there was no, it felt like the process was all diminished down to something, that wasn't really nurturing the creative, element of it all, of what you have to do to get your thoughts going. Like you said, even though I have a short drive, it's not about, it's about getting up and going to that destination, right? All right, this is where things are going to happen, and so, but a lot of people remember the study that came out that said half of the people were drinking during the working hours,
right?
Which I guess isn't really shocking, but it tells the story of where a lot of people were. It also, again, there was the attitude that, oh, this is going to happen for a long, long time. And people just tried to make it this a right because, well, I don't feel safe going into work. I don't feel safe. Well, eventually there had to be that shift when productivity just wasn't what it was.
Now, there are people, I think of my buddy Jeff, who, his office is about 50 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
But he was always, when he was working, on the road anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He was always on the road. He's a self-starter.
Yeah.
So he was never really in the office.
Right.
So I don't know if he was working. He might not have been working when COVID was here, but he's one of those people that didn't need to go into the office. He communicated with the boss, and it was strictly, how you perform, what you sold.
Right.
And as long as you were selling, you were fine.
Right.
If you weren't selling, then you weren't fine.
Yeah.
And, and then the management wants, to monitor you more. in government, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Because what is it? 2/3 are still working in the federal government from home?
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane.
And they're taught what one of the problems is Mayor Bowser's furious. There's no business in D.C.
Right.
Because so many of the employees are gone, retail and restaurants, everything getting killed over the last couple of years because of it.
Right.
Now, that's not a reason that you do it. The reason you do it is because you believe there's more efficiency and you're more productive as a monopoly.
Exactly.
I had that in at the end. 866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
For holiday food shoppers, the news about retail turkey prices is certainly encouraging.
People who are shopping for turkeys for their holidays are likely going to see some good deals out there.
But USDA economist Michael McConnell says the news is not so good for those folks who raise and market those turkeys. They've been seeing dramatically lower wholesale prices, and here's a prime example.
In 2024, we're forecasting the average hen price to be 94 cents per pound. That's in comparison to last year where we had an average of $1.40 per pound. So a pretty stark decline.
McConnell says it's been a bit of a stark time for the folks who raise turkeys. Since back in 2022, consumer demand for turkey has slowed down, causing a buildup of turkey supplies and a big reduction in prices. So producers have been trying to cut production.
The industry and producers are trying to get supply and demand back into balance,
which it is hoped by next Thanksgiving will provide ample supplies of turkeys for consumers and a fair price for turkey producers. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We had mentioned this the other day about Biden, and it's like, yeah, but he's been this way for a long time. On his recent trip, there's a headline: Pollster Nate Silver calls on Biden to resign after claiming he is incompetent to be president right now. He hasn't been competent to be president for the longest time. Talking to my father just last couple of days, 98 and a half, you don't pay as much attention to the news. And he said, tell me about these long-range missiles. What's going on with Biden? Why is Biden doing this?
Right,
and I had to be honest. I said, I don't know if Biden's actually doing it. I said, do you actually think? I said, I don't actually think that Biden is making these decisions.
Right.
Because I don't think Biden knows and is able to comprehend all the strategies of a war. If you were to look at a war and say, okay, here's the concept, here's how many missiles we have, tanks, blah, 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 here's what Russia has, okay, we need some help here. I don't think he understands all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't either.
And I don't think he made that decision. And he writes here, he says, President Joe Biden was in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, unprotected from mosquitoes, fire ants, and everything else. But there was another pest he did manage to avoid, the pack of reporters traveling with him. During a 6-day foreign trip to Peru and Brazil that wrapped up Monday, the president rarely spoke in public, answered almost no questions despite repeatedly efforts to engage him. One television producer took to writing messages on a huge pad of paper, holding it up as Biden boarded and departed on Air Force One. Silver suggested the report was a further sign that Biden is incapable of leading in the final weeks of his presidency. Is there any particular reason to assume?
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Sarah, we had some technical problems in the last segment. Didn't get to finish the story. The story on pollster Nate Silver calls on Biden to resign after claiming he is incompetent to be president right now. And he said, is there any particular reason to assume Biden is competent to be president right now? It's a very difficult job. It's a dangerous world, extremely high stakes, decisions in Ukraine. He should resign and let Harris serve out the last 2 months, Silver wrote on X on Wednesday. Prior to the election, Silver frequently floated the idea of Biden being replaced by a different candidate and even called for Biden to resign in July after his disastrous ABC interview with George Stephanopoulos. Look, we've said this for the longest time. The Democrats don't care. Democrats didn't care. I don't believe he's been capable of serving for a significant period of time now. I don't think that he's been making these decisions. I don't think he can grasp a concept, because when you decide, and my father and I, since my father worked on long-range missiles, it's what he did. My father was part of the development of the propulsion system of one of the first generations of the Minuteman missile, which is the intercontinental ballistic missile. Now, not the same thing, but the concept of rocket propulsion systems are still, are basically still the same. And so he has a great interest in it. So he was asking me about it yesterday. He said, well, what do you think's in his mind? And I went, I don't think he's making this decision.
Yeah.
I don't think. Now, he might have made it and said, yeah, send the missiles. He doesn't understand it. I think somebody in his administration is the one that's actually making the decisions on these things. I don't think he can comprehend. I don't think he can comprehend the 50, 60, 70 different variables that would go into making any type of wartime decision as to what type of weaponry Ukraine should have.
Right.
Against Russia currently in what's happening, in what's happening right now. And so Democrats don't care, though.
No.
This is two things.
They don't.
Two things that I find amazing. The vast majority of the public, I believe, does not think that Biden has the capability of serving as president for a significant period of time for his cognitive problems. There's no effort, has been no effort from Democrats to do anything about it, even post getting Harris in there as the appointing her as the eventual nominee. That is amazing. That's one of the most amazing things I've ever witnessed in this country in modern political times, that the majority of Americans and the majority of people in Congress, they understand he shouldn't be president. He does not have the cognitive abilities, and nothing is happening. Never thought that would happen, in this republic, but it is.
Well, it's also indicative of, because there's also not a ton of outrage on the left about him being in that seat. They really don't care. And I said it just the other day. 2 months is a long time when you have somebody who's not capable of being in charge. Because until he's officially not the president, he's still the president. And show me, is someone doing something opposite of what he's wishing? Any presidential orders? Anyone doing the opposite of it? How in the world does this situation exist and not change drastically in a heartbeat? Well, because you don't have a public consensus, an outcry, a massive outcry to make a change. We've been saying it for a long time. It's extremely dangerous. He's not capable of serving as commander-in-chief. If he's not capable of running for re-election, he's certainly not capable of serving.
And they knew it was so bad that they tried to make the case that Trump was worse, remember?
Yeah, right.
And the American public never bought that.
Right.
Why? Because we've all been around elderly people, and some people consider me an elderly people.
Mm-hmm.
But we've all been around it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all been around, our parents. And many of us have dealt with dementia in one of our parents or both. And many of us have dealt with the cognitive decline of our parents. So we recognize it. Mm-hmm. It's easily recognizable. and the Democratic Party was gaslighting it, and then any type of, I don't know, minor stutter or losing a train of thought while Trump was, ad-libbing something for a half an hour was viewed as, oh, he's worse than Biden. And they did that because they knew how bad Biden was, and they were attempting to make a false comparison between Trump and Biden. So, Nate Silver saying, he should resign. He should have resigned. He probably, I don't believe he had the cognitive ability, even in the beginning, that, we saw the decline even from the first year.
You can go back and see. You can go back and watch clips from, throughout his presidency, and you can see the clear decline.
Yeah,
throughout those years. But again, up until they made him stand down and not run again, and ushered Kamala in, age is not a problem. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. As soon as she's brought in, age is a problem with Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
And, again, it's Trump doesn't seem to age. I don't know if that's a billionaire thing. I don't know how it works. But he's been very consistent over the years. Certainly in his years of running for office and being president.
Or maybe McDonald's is the best nutrition that a human being can get.
Maybe the key to preserving your age is preservatives.
Preservatives, right.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor. What do I know?
All right. Got to play this audio. The Democrat chair of the key Pennsylvania County Election Board apologized on Wednesday for saying, quote, precedent by a court doesn't matter anymore, when she voted to count hundreds of deficient mail and provisional ballots. I wanted to start by apologizing for the for the upset and confusion that I have caused the citizens of Bucks County and the hardworking employees of this county and my family and those who share my last name, said Bucks County Commissioner Diane Ellis Marsaglia at a Wednesday meeting. And so why did she say she said it? What caused her to say it? I'm just going to play it, her comment. You ready?
All right.
Okay,
All right.
I'm just going to play it. Here we go.
All right.
All right.
I apologize, and I will continue to work hard for you and endeavor to not make such a mistake again. I will also clarify one more thing. When I inartfully spoke and used the word precedent when I was talking about provisional ballots, I was referring to the United States Supreme Court and the precedent that has been lost on many issues, including Roe versus Wade.
You weren't. You were angry your candidate was losing.
Yeah.
And you thought you were living in the bubble of your own bubblehead and thought you could sell the fact that you should not abide by Pennsylvania law, even after the Supreme Court came in and said, stop it. This is the law. You didn't give a damn about the law.
Exactly.
Trying to make it about something to do with Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Stop it.
Yeah.
God.
Right. Like she was in a moment of, battling for something, fighting for something. This is about something more than me when they screw up. This isn't about me. Actually, it is about you. You own the screw up. But I don't need her to apologize. I heard her thoughts to begin with, like many on the left. Don't come back and say what I meant to say was, no, we know what you meant to say. We heard it the first time. We were there. And thanks to Eric and Gary, who played it repeatedly, we heard it a lot. And it's, it's always that, well, what I meant, No. No, you meant what you said the first time. That's where your conviction is. And when you have to come back, it tells you, oh, well, I'm just going to have to continue. I don't require you to apologize. I never ask for, well, you must apologize. They must apologize. Look, I don't think they're fit for public office. I don't think they should be, they should have much influence. But if they're in the arena of ideas, they should speak on their convictions.
Well, also, Josh Shapiro was criticized because the governor of Pennsylvania, because he didn't come out officially against it after the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania came out a second time and said, stop counting them.
Right. Yeah.
They don't count. And
Right.
then he spoke, and he was just blasted. You were silent until the second time the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania came out and said, stop those counts.
Right.
And so the Democrats, a lot of Democrats are upset about it because they spend so much time saying Donald Trump is about the steal. He's going to steal it. He's going to steal it. He's going to steal it. And something like this comes out that goes absolutely viral. And I know I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it's as if she came out and said, I want to steal the election.
Yeah.
And so we don't care what the court says. We are going to steal the election.
Right.
And they're like, what the hell, dudette? I was going to say dude, but it doesn't fit her, so dudette. What in the world are you doing? Don't tell him you want to steal it. Just steal it.
Right. Exactly.
But don't tell them.
Well, again, but they can't help themselves, right? Because they really think they're doing a noble thing. We're not going to listen to the court orders.
But by the way, a Democrat-led Supreme Court.
Right.
That's the thing. It just, she checked off all the insane boxes. I'm insane. Check off this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, checked off all that equals being insane.
Exactly.
Because you're not going to be able to make your point or justify your point.
Right.
Don't you see it? No, I'm in the delusion of the bubble in my head.
Well, I mean, again, Jack Smith with the Supreme Court, and then after the Supreme Court decision, but they really don't care what the court says. These people are willing to go to battle and use any means necessary within what they believe is their power, but within their grasp, until they're called out on it. Even when their own state Supreme Court tells them to stop. Well, we don't recognize the court. We don't recognize the court, basically. Well, all that was out the window with the whole Roe v. Wade thing. What? Roe v. What? It
didn't even make sense.
No,
That's
it didn't.
That's the other thing. I'm like, I don't
You're
understand.
bringing a totally different battle into it. I mean, I guess I can kind of see it because, they were calling. Remember, look, they don't want the Supreme Court to be in existence. They don't want the Senate to be in existence. The Electoral College, all of it. Be done with all of that. And
now they want the courts gone.
Well, now they want
even their Democrat. They're so radical. They want their Democrat courts gone.
Even the popular vote now after November 5th. We don't want that. But he won both. Yeah, but we'll get back to you.
The popular vote and the Electoral College both have to go.
Right.
Well, that was the funny thing. Who came out? Who was it who came out? It was somebody in the media. Came out, leftist media, and said, we need to get rid of the Electoral College after this vote. He won the popular vote.
Won the popular vote. Yeah. Oh, that one too. Must be a third choice.
Dictatorship.
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Wow. Yeah, well, Friday's next. Oh, my gosh. I still have so many audio cuts that we haven't played yet from this week that are just bizarre.
Yeah.
From the left. But
it's too much. We do a 5-hour show.
I know.
And there's too much stuff.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.